Yeah. Namaskar. Suswagatam. Good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me on YouTube Live and Teams? If you can hear me, please give us yes or thumbs up on chat box so we know that audio is clear. Thank you. Good morning again. I'm Umesh, and it's my privilege to welcome you all who have joined us today on Microsoft Teams and YouTube Live. This is the fifth webinar in our series, Successful Redevelopment, and is titled Selecting a Developer. Each webinar is a standalone session, but if you have watched the earlier videos or attended the earlier webinars, then it will be easier for you and you'll get a better idea of the entire process. We are very happy to receive a good feedback and so many questions because it means our website and webinars are indeed working as a guide. We will address these questions on priority today at the end of this session. And as I always say, we will include this in our FAQs as well. Yes. The success of a business partnership lies in its ability to adapt, innovate, and evolve together. Redevelopment project is a business partnership of a kind where society invests in the form of land, which is a rare commodity, and the developer invests money, skill, expertise, etc. Both the partner, society, and developer have to be flexible, adapt to the situation, innovate to tackle various challenges, and evolve together. Now, together is the key word. And that's why selecting a developer is very crucial, and we will learn about it today. Now, we'll quickly go through our initiatives. Like we have this TRH WhatsApp group, which has 425 members. If you have not yet joined the group, please join. Then we have a YouTube channel by the same name, Technoesis Redevelopment Help. Here you can watch all our videos uh, of this series as well as the earlier videos as well. Then, of course, we have this website, redevelopment.info, which is a comprehensive website. And this entire webinar series is for the website itself. Then we have our email where you can send your questions. And of course, the most important is this webinar series which we are conducting. We have already conducted 4 webinars in this series, and the 5th one we are conducting today. And 6th one will be announced soon. Before we begin, since we have finished 4 webinars, we'll quickly go through what we have seen already. The first was overview, which was introductory kind of a webinar where we took tour of the entire website, its purpose, thought behind developing the website, the roadmap, records, guideposts, etc. The second in the series was initiating project and appointment of PMC. Here we understood guidelines 79A in detail, provisions of structural audit, and criteria for selecting PMC, among other things. Next was feasibility study and report. In this session, we looked at FSI, TDR, base carpet areas, content of feasibility report. We also understood wider applications of this report and common mistakes that occur while preparing the report. The next, which was phase 2, like there are 5 phases as per our website. So this was the beginning of phase 2, stage 1 of phase 2, which was tendering for redevelopment. In this, we delved into tendering process, its finer aspects, and the actual tender document. And now we are ready for the next stage, stage, that is stage two of, which is the next stage. As I mentioned at the beginning, good partnership between society and developer is the key to success. And today's speaker, Mr. Umesh Dhargalkar, will take us through this process of selecting a right developer for your project. Though almost everyone knows him by now, I still need to introduce him. Mr. Dhargalkar is a B.Tech Civil and M.Tech Structural from IIT Bombay with 40 years of experience in civil and structural engineering, specifically in buildings, new as well as old. He is a passionate teacher, and that's why he has been conducting these training programs, webinars, public seminars since last 15 years. He has been handling redevelopment projects since 18 years, and with that, based on that expertise, he has conducted all these webinars, seminars, etc., and imparted more than 30,000 hours of training to more than 2,000 engineers. He's a recipient of two national level awards, one as an innovator and another as a trainer in construction industry. He received CREDAI MCHI Ratna Award as Master in Redevelopment earlier this month. Over to Mr. Umesh Dhargalkar.
Thank you, Uma. It's indeed an honor to be introduced as a teacher more than a consultant. Good morning and welcome. Right now, we are at the most crucial stage of our project. We have identified the 5 phases of redevelopment, and we are right now towards the end of the second stage, after which the project actually, the logistics of the project actually become different, quite different. Right now, most of these they happen within the society and with the PLC, which is basically the same team, right? But once a developer is appointed, which is going to be a subject matter of the next webinar, things become to change. Okay, but prior to that, so we are at the very crucial stage of the project and selecting a developer. Okay, the right developer is I didn't say good developer. I said the right developer is perhaps the most important decision to be taken in a redevelopment project. Okay, if you have selected the right developer, well, your project can be successful. If you have not selected the right developer, I really do not know what would happen to your project. So that's the kind of success or failure kind of equation which depends on selection of a developer. Now, having said that, okay, the question arises as to developer कैसे होना चाहिए? How should a developer be? मेरे प्लॉट का, मेरी सोसाइटी का, मेरे साइज के, मतलब मेरा जैसा प्लॉट है, मेरी जैसी सोसाइटी है, मेरे जिस तरह के एस्पिरेशंस है. So the developer कैसा होना चाहिए and what is the process for selecting that kind of a developer? Now this is going to be the crux of today's webinar. Now, friends, what generally happens is that, the common mistakes which society people do while selecting a developer. एक तो वो developer को, when a developer is selected based on, number one, what financial benefits he offers and what he promises. Okay, so there are two things here. One is the financial benefits, which every time when I get an opportunity, I make it a point to say this, that financial benefits such as your extra area or say corpus or whatever you say, ये आपको जब भी project खत्म होता है, when the project is complete in completed successfully, that is the time when you get this. So this is basically a result. Whereas a result is never guaranteed unless proper process is adopted. So nobody thinks or unless a right person has been appointed to do that job. And this is exactly the kind of mistake people will do. Without proper validation, without proper due diligence, they appoint a developer. And somehow, then thereafter, what happens is that, you know, thereafter, the society and the members, they constantly feel themselves to be pitted against the developer rather than thinking of him as a partner. They think this as if he belongs to us some kind of a different team, and then the suspicions grow. The people start thinking I have to win against this developer, which is a completely wrong notion. As Umar just said, the success of business partnership lies in its ability to adopt, innovate, and evolve together. Now, this applies together, as I said, is the key word. And this applies to the team of the society, the PMC, and the developer together. Because the developer is going to be our business partner for the next 5 years. And whatever happens in the next 5 years is something, if things go right, they go right for both of us, for the developer and the society. If they don't go right, okay, so it affects both of us. So when you select a developer, okay, I would suggest that be very, very scrupulous. Very, 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 very scrupulous. Do every kind of due diligence. Get to know the developer from all the possible angles. And then only you select a developer. Now, how is that done? We are going to get to see that a little later. Okay. But the point number 2 is also very important, that once you have selected a developer, if you have done all the due diligence prior to that and checked all the credentials of the developer, uske baad, what is required, that you think of him as your business partner, as your team member, someone you can trust, okay, and do a project with him together. The point is here. The point here is that you should always consider a developer to be on the same side. You are not sitting across each other. You are sitting together. You are in the same team. And who's in the opposing team with whom you are playing the game? That is like say, maybe market conditions, all the things which could go wrong in future, all the changing policies, the time, the different unpleasant events, or whatever that could happen. So you are a team and you are going to win this game of redevelopment together against all the possible problems that could arise in the future. Now, let me quickly introduce you to the contents of this webinar. Okay. If you remember, we concluded last webinar wherein we said that, the last stage of the last webinar was opening of the bids received. Okay. Let's say that you had, let's say, you had sold 15 tenders, out of which 10 people bid. So you have got 10 bids there. Okay. अभी आपके पास जो 10 bids है, उसको यहां से लेके आगे क्या करना है? That is the process which we are going to discuss today. So first thing what we are going to do is that prepare a comparative statement and carry out the analysis and rating of bids. Okay, I'll be talking in detail about this in future. This is only a list of the contents. Thereafter, we will have joint meetings, negotiations, and shortlisting. Shortlisting can happen more than once. Maybe it can happen twice, thrice. In rare circumstances, even 4 times. Then there's a stage of due diligence, which we'll be talking about. Now, due diligence will be technical, financial, legal, and then as an extended part of due diligence, you will be making office visits to the developer, site visits to his projects, and arranging his presentation. Then you will be taking the final techno-commercial offers from the developer and then finally selecting a developer. So this is the process which will be covering in this webinar in the first part. Then thereafter, we will have a short demo of how to do it using our website, because right now you are on this webinar. Okay. And once the webinar is over, you have understood the discussions of the webinar. Okay. But once this webinar is over, you are not going to remember everything that I've said. Okay. You have perhaps understood the flow. You have perhaps understood the important points, takeaways from here. But then you will still need some kind of a guide, some kind of a standard material to look into, as and when you need to look into it in future. So that is the website. Okay, the www.redevelopment.info. So we'll have a quick demo about how this phase 2 and stage 2, that is selecting a developer, is covered on the website, along with its milestones, records, guide posts, and the kind of general body meetings that will require. And towards the end, after we have developed, gone through the process and the demo, then we will have a separate slide which is dedicated to what would be the criteria for selection of a developer. Now, just to put this webinar in context in terms of time frame, I always show this slide in every webinar just to understand in a span of say something like 5 years. आज हम कहाँ पर है, कौन से stage पे है, what have we covered and what remains to be covered. So with that in mind, so if you refer to this slide here, you can see that we have covered phase 1, which would normally take 4 months of your time. And then we have also covered the first part of phase 2, that is a stage 1 of phase 2, which would have taken about 3 months of your time. And right now we are at the stage of developer selection, which is what we are going to cover today. It would take about 5 months of your project time. So we have covered our journey of something like 7 years, and we will be covering a journey of the next 7 months, and we'll be covering a journey of the next 5 months in this webinar, right? So 1 year will be, so at the end of this webinar, you can say कि 1 साल का हमारा प्रोजेक्ट का काम हो गया है in terms of time frame, and approximately about 4 years of time frame will be remaining. Now, selection of a developer, that process, I would divide it into 2 parts. The first part is evaluation of bids and shortlisting of a developers up to a stage wherein you have arrived at the final shortlist. Okay, from the evaluation of the bids which are received right up to the preparation of the final shortlist. And once the final shortlist is prepared, then I would say the next step would be from the final shortlist of the bidders right up to the selection of one developer from the final shortlist. So let's take the first stage of evaluation of bids and shortlisting of developers. Now, this slide has a direct correlation with our website. So those of you who have been on our website will be able to understand and appreciate the correlation here itself. So number 1, the first broad step, of course, website, even for this for second phase and second stage, what we are going to cover in this webinar, there are 32 steps given on the website. Okay, those are small steps which you will be taking when you are doing your project. But when I am explaining the principle and the flow, okay, I am not covering them. I am covering here the broad steps. And the first one is collect required information or documents from the bidders. Now, you floated a tender, and in the tender, we gave the checklist also about what are all the documents the developers or the bidders should submit to the society. right? So we gave something like, a list of say maybe 25 to 30 documents. And we expect the bidders that they should submit all those documents in addition to their commercial offer, correct? And on the basis of the documents, we can take our selection process forward. But quite often it so happens that we do not get all the required information and documents from the bidders when they submit the bid, right? So as PMCs, what we have to do is that we have to, if we have got, let's say 10 bids, let's say, okay, let's say you sold 15 tenders, but five people, bidders, five developers did not wish to bid. So you got 10 bids. Now, out of the 10 bids, let's say that key, दो लोगों ने, दो developer ने earnest money deposited in area. These are the real things that happen. Right? You got 10 bids, but two bidders did not enclose the earnest money deposit. Obviously, they will stand disqualified. So now we are left with 8 developers, 8 bidders. All right. So with those 8 bidders, for each of the bidders, what we do is that we find out what in relation to the documents and information which we had requested, how much they have given and what is it that they have not given. So we make a list of that, because without getting complete information, it will not be correct to proceed further with the selection process. So we make a list of for eight bidders, for every bidder, what are the documents or what is the information that has not been submitted by that particular bidder. And then we send an email to them as PMCs and we request or collect that required information or documents which did not come to us at the beginning. Now, once we get those documents, right, then we start preparing the comparative statement. Now here you see that this step has been made bold. Now bold means it's a milestone. When we go along to some place, there are certain important destinations which we arrive in between. For example, if we go from Borivali, for those of you who are from Mumbai, Borivali to Churchgate, our milestones could be after Borivali, Andheri, Bandra, Dadar, Bombay Central, Churchgate, like that. Whereas we are continuously moving to other stations, but these are the major milestones when we know, okay, so much of the distance has been covered. So like that, in a redevelopment project also, we have to have the milestones and understand the milestones so that we are in a position to track our project with the help of those milestones. So this is the first milestone in this second phase, second stage. And that is why you see the word there M in the brackets there. Those are the words, or I would say those are the letters there, right, which tell you the correlation of this slide with a website. M standing for milestone. It says this step is a milestone. R stands for a record or a report. Now, why is R here? Because comparative statement is a record. It's a very important project record, right? And there is a GP also, which stands for guidepost. Guidepost, let me tell you once again, is our special guidelines which are developed by Technoesis, that's my company, okay, which will do a kind of hand holding for you, for I'll say they give you an extra guidance in form of or based on the systems which you have developed in our office. So you can find them very useful. Let me tell you, in this stage, okay, there are 4 milestones, 9 reports or records, and about 9 guideposts that we'll see later. But so this is the first milestone, and then there is a record and there is a guidepost for how to prepare comparative statement or the bid evaluation report on the website, which you can have a look at. Then the third broad step would be evaluation and rating of bids. Now see the difference between the comparative statement and evaluation or analysis is this. Comparative statement means, putting in a tabular form the responses which we have received from the bidders. Now, very simplistically, in comparative statement, which I have seen, many or sometimes even some PMCs, they prepare a comparative statement only for the financial benefits, extra area, corpus, things like that. Okay? And it's a very small comparative statement. But that is not the correct way to do that, because we have to prepare a comparative statement for the credentials of the bidders also. So we talked about the technical bid and commercial bid. So ideally, what we do is that we prepare comparative statement for technical bids, which depending on the bidder's credentials, and we prepare a comparative statement for the financial bids or rather the commercial bids separately. So there are two comparative statements. All right, one based on the developer's credentials and the other one based on the developer's commercial offer. Now, what evaluation means is this. Comparative means it's a simple data. ऐसा है, ऐसा है, ऐसा है, ऐसा है, ऐसा है. But the simple data needs interpretation. It needs evaluation. It needs analysis. Otherwise, how are we going to understand out of, let's say we said ना 10 bids आपके पास आया तो 2 bid में EMD नहीं था. So we are now dealing with 8 bids. So there are 8 bidders. So how do we know which bidder is better, lesser? It's a relative term, right? And not just for one parameter, for different parameters. So if you do it just like that, it will be quite tricky. You'll get confused, right? So what we do at our office is that we have developed a software wherein what we do, we use the same data which we have put in comparative statement. We do prepare comparative statement, but then we go further and use the comparative statement and you evaluate or analyze it. And we have also prepared a rating model, जिसके ऊपर हम different marks देते हैं, relative marks. You know, this is what we expected, right? This is what we expected. Okay, from a bidder. Now the response for a bidder is it what we expected? Like say, let's say commercial, then it will be easier for you to understand. Let's say we had expected say 40% extra based on our feasibility. Now, some bidder has offered 35%, some bidder has offered 45%, some 42%. So there is a variation. So we had some expectation, and what we have got is a variation from down to up. So it may be little less than what we expected, much less than what we expected, or so much less than what we expected that we would just not accept that kind of thing. Or it could be even better than what we expect. Now this is captured in an analytical model or a rating model, so that, and that also is another record. Comparative statement is a different record, and evaluation or analysis or rating is a different record. And with that record, we are in a position to understand whether a developer may be weak from financial terms, another developer may be weak on say experience terms, a third developer may be weak on some other terms, right? Maybe he has some legal issues. Fourth developer, so different developers may have different strengths, different weaknesses, which are reflected in a colored kind of response as well as rating, which makes it easier for the society people as well as the PMC to understand, okay, key relatively in different areas, let's say 7 areas, let's say experience is one, financial is one, legal is one, then let's say company structure is one, there could be so many. Or crucial parts may be one, like so key elements, I'll come to that later. So what we can do is that we can use that model and visually with colors as well as with numbers, we can understand which developer has higher strength, which developer has weaker strength in different areas of his bid. So once we have got that, there's a time you can now shortlist a few people based on that. मतलब shortlist करना है मतलब क्या है? जबरदस्ती जरूरी नहीं कि सब shortlist करना है. If you have got 8 people who are roughly, you feel that they are comparable, then there's no need to shortlist. But if you feel कि इसमें से, 3 developer कोई काम के नहीं, okay, कोई काम के नहीं, then there's no point in wasting time with them. So maybe you might as well remove 3 developers, okay, because it's a successive, you see, you are not selecting a developer, what you are doing is that successively eliminating developers or bidders who do not satisfy your criteria. So there could be a possibility of shortlist here. Now the question could be that अगर आपको ऑफर ही 3 लोगों का आया है तो क्या करना है? तो इस स्टेज पे शॉर्टलिस्ट नहीं करना है. वेरी सिंपल. ओके, 3 का आया है, 4 का है. So that could be a subjective decision. But we are going with that model that you got 10 bids, 2 got eliminated because they did not submit the earnest money deposit. You had 8. 8 में से 3 you feel गए. So now you are left with 5. Now with those 5, what you do is that you set up joint meetings with them, talk to them, negotiate with them. Now when I say negotiate, it's not necessarily only from the money or commercial offer. Negotiations also required to be done. Like say for example, a developer ने बोला है कि भाई आपने बैंक गारंटी मांगा है 25 crores का. Okay. Now developer says no, I cannot give 25 crores bank guarantee. One developer says, he said I can only give up to 10 crores. Now, whether it is possible to negotiate with him and ask him to whether he can retract that condition. That also is a part of negotiation. Okay, or some developer has said, that I will not load the full TDR in the beginning. हमने बोला है टेंडर में कि करना चाहिए, but he takes an exception. He says no, I will not do that. Now we have to sit with him. If all other parameters are good, then we have to, in a joint meeting, we have to ask him. So can you come and what best can you do? So that is also a type of negotiation. And third, obviously, is a kind of negotiation कि भाई आपने इतना extra area दिया, आप कितना ज़्यादा दे सकते हैं. That's definitely a commercial negotiation. So these things can be done. Now, what are the points to be covered in joint meetings and negotiation? Okay, there is a guidepost. The second guidepost for this webinar, which you can look at. Right? Look at means you can actually take it and start using it. Now, with these joint meetings and negotiation, there can be further shortlist if necessary. Okay. Now, after the further shortlist, let's say you don't shortlist further, you still have 5 people, let's say. Okay. Then comes due diligence, extremely important. Now, this is something, what happens is that I remember due diligence comes after having the first meeting with the bidders. So what is done in due diligence is that you check, you validate, you verify, you cross-check, you audit. Okay, whatever developer has said independently. Okay, through other people or maybe through the records which he has submitted rather than what he has promised. Due diligence, when I say, it's like verification. जो बोल रहा है, he says हमने 3 प्रोजेक्ट किया है. एक XYZ कंपनी says हमने 3 redevelopment प्रोजेक्ट किया है. ओके, वो 3 प्रोजेक्ट जो किया है उसने XYZ कंपनी उसी कंपनी में किया है कि और कोई कंपनी के नाम है. एक प्रोजेक्ट इस कंपनी में किया है, एक प्रोजेक्ट दूसरे कंपनी. All that things needs to be checked. Okay, so this is what I mean by due diligence, and there's a very good guidepost for that as to how you can do this due diligence actually in practice. The first step of due diligence could be client's references. If the developer says that as I said, I have completed these 3 projects of your size, then we say, भैया उसका secretary का chairman का आप telephone number हमको दो, so that we are in a position to verify that. And then you call them up, then the society. You see, client's references are generally typically done by the managing committee member. They set up a telephone call with the clients of the bidders. They even make a visit. या तो सब मतलब या तो ऑफिस में बैठते अपने and they put that I have seen that they what they do is that they put the developer's client on a speaker phone so that all the managing committee people are in a position to listen to him and they ask the question. इस कंपनी ने आपके साथ आपका प्रोजेक्ट रिडेवलप किया क्या? Okay, or how were they? Did they complete on time? Were there any issues and all? And believe me, there can be very, very big surprises in store. I also come across developers ने बोला कि हमने ये प्रोजेक्ट किया and the clients ने बोला कि इसने एक प्रोजेक्ट किया ही नहीं. So whatever it is, like, that is one due diligence which is done at the managing committee level, checking up with the developer's clients for the authenticity of the information which he has given. Second is project documents. Like say as PMC, we have got the project documents. Like we have got the IOD, CC, we have the dates of certain project. Like say project उसने development agreement कब sign किया? उसके बाद IOD कितने महीने में लाया? Oh, IOD लाने में ही 3 साल गया. So why? So that could be the question, right? Or after IOD, how much time did it take to get the CC, or then finally did he obtain the full occupancy certificate? All those things. So, and if it's a recent project, then we can do some RERA due diligence also. Okay, so this is something which PMC can do for the project document. The third would be financial due diligence. Now, this is better done through a financial expert. Or some societies, they have someone who understands financial things in their society. So that person can help them to some extent. But for major societies, what we normally do, what our clients do is that they appoint a separate financial expert who checks the financial credentials of this developer. Okay. Maybe the net worth, maybe the balance sheets, maybe the solvency, maybe the cash flows, sales, then sources of funds, all that thing, that too in the name of the bidding company. Okay, so they do that, and then they give you, they sometimes, they calculate various ratios to tell you how sound that bidder would be. Okay, so there's a financial expert, and then there is, you can see there is R. R means there has to be a proper report. Okay, for every developer. Now, suppose we have got 5 developers here, 5 bidders. So the financial expert would evaluate these 5 bidders and will give a report. That's why there is R. That's the record. Something similar to that is to be done from the legal angle. You have to appoint a legal expert who is specifically has that kind of understanding, who can visit the Mahadera website and whatever. And you see, every developer कभी dispute में था, कभी arbitration case था, कभी उसके ऊपर court में गया. It doesn't mean the developer is bad, by itself. What is important is to understand what are the unresolved disputes. And then the legal expert can talk to that developer or his lawyer and understand why the dispute, whether for each of, say, maybe there are 4 disputes. For each dispute, why the dispute arose, what is being done, how it could be redressed, that understanding has to be done. It doesn't mean that a developer has got so many disputes, so he is a bad developer. Okay, maybe he is the right person. Maybe someone who has got him into that position, his things were wrong, whatever it is. So that's a legal expert. And then visit the bidders' offices. ये जो bidder है, उसके office में जाना है and have a face-to-face talk with the senior people there. Okay, the managing committee, and if required, experts. Like I just explained to you. See, maybe there is some financial data which you are not able to, especially this happens when you have large projects and your companies are, let's say, say public limited or listed companies. Okay, it makes sense to go to their offices, talk to their lawyers in their office, talk to their financial people in their office, and ask all the queries for which you may have to take your financial and legal experts with you and get a good understanding of the situation. How bad it is, or is it not something to be worried about? Now, once we have got all this information about these 5 bidders which I'm talking about in the previous shortlist, then we can, if possible, we can eliminate certain things on the basis of the due diligence, and we have a final shortlist, which is a very big milestone. That's what M stands for. So we now have a final shortlist. Let's say from 5, now we have a final shortlist of 3, just for an example. Now, what happens is that this is an exercise which has been done by the managing committee, the PMC, the experts appointed by um, the managing committee and all. We are still not gone to the members. So the next phase is now uh, a phase where we start talking to the members. So interaction with members and selection of a developer. So, right. So, yeah, one thing I just want to caution here, maybe is it here or something? Right. Okay. Visit to the bidders' sites. You see. Okay. Visit to the bidders' sites. Okay. Meaning what? If he has completed certain projects, or there are some projects which are under construction, it makes sense to visit them. Completed project होगा तो आपके पास अगर उसका completed, if a project was completed maybe at least 3 years ago, okay, that would be a good project to visit so that you would get to see what has happened in the last 3 years, where that building has suffered maybe 3 monsoons like that, and the project is completed. In what way it was completed, full OC, hai, nahi hai, all that thing. So that you can, now who visits? Managing committee, some members also. That is why the members come into picture. All right. Some projects where the construction is in progress, so that you can get to see the kind of materials. Okay. Then the quality control system there at the site. How is the supervision done? How is the cleanliness at the site? All those things. Remember, many developers or many bidders may talk about हमारे पाइपलाइन में इतना प्रोजेक्ट है, हमने ये प्रोजेक्ट एक्वायर किया है, हमने ये सब किया, अभी एडवांस स्टेज पे. I normally it is better not to get carried away by that. Okay, because a project which is in the pipeline can remain in pipeline for the next 5 years. Okay, so which are the projects which are of importance to us? The projects which have been completed and projects which are under construction, or maybe projects where an IOD has been received just recently, so that at least it has gone past that important stage. Okay, rest of the projects not so important. In fact, if a developer has acquired more projects recently, perhaps it's a bad sign for us because he has made so much of financial commitment to the other projects. All right, so it could perhaps reflect negatively. Okay, so once that is done, then what we do is that we tell the bidders, those 3 bidders who are in the final shortlist now, we tell them to make a presentation to the members in a general body meeting. Okay, so there's this again is a milestone. There's a record which is a presentation. Now, if you had asked for the plans in the beginning, not at the time of selection of a developer, not every society asks for the plans, but there could be some societies where the bidders are asked to final bidders at the stage of final shortlist are asked to prepare plans and make a presentation to the society, especially for major projects. So that happens. So if that is so, those plans also will become some kind of a record for you, and the developer will make the presentation to your members. Now, it's not only that in this meeting, the developer will make the presentation. There are 3 presentations which are required. Number 1, the managing committee. Before the developer comes in to make a presentation, the managing committee will brief the members who are attending the general body meeting about what they found so far about that particular bidder. So that is a managing committee's presentation or report. Then the PMC also shares his insights about that particular developer, and then the developer comes and makes his presentation. So your members get to understand that what the developer is saying, as well as what the PMC is saying and MC is saying about the same developer. Okay, so there is a good guidepost there which you can refer to. Now the next stage would be, if necessary, and if you find it worthwhile, final techno-commercial negotiations. Right? Depending on what happens in the presentation, if you feel there's a room for final techno-commercial negotiation or to form some crucial aspects with the developer, the time is now. Then what we do is that we have to take the final techno-commercial offers from the developer. Now, this is extremely important. Okay. What happens is that you floated a tender and the bidders. Now we are talking about 3 bidders only. So the 3 bidders, they gave their response. Okay. Then we went through the process of selection and due diligence, shortlisting, etc. And during that process, there was an exchange of some correspondence, communication, emails between the society and the 3 bidders. Now, all this communication can be harmful in future unless you have paid proper attention to it. For example, if you do not take this final techno-commercial offer, then, and if you presume उसका पहले का ऑफर है या कोई एक सिंपल लेटर ले लिया, एक सिंपल लेटर ले लिया, नहीं हमने पहले we are given an offer of 35% extra cafeteria, we are now increased to 38% and you are happy. But then what has happened is that along with that, there are other correspondence communication which are already there as a matter of record. Okay, so later on, a stage can come when the developer can tell you, आपने मैंने ये दिया तो था, but देखो हमने इस लेटर में ये लिखा था. Refer to that later, and on the basis of that, I had given this. So this correspondence between you, unless it is properly regularized, okay, can become a point of contention in future. So that is why what we do is that only the technical bid and a new final techno-commercial offer should be the 2 documents. And that is with that in mind, the final techno-commercial offers are that offer that later is drafted. That offer letter is drafted. So that offer letter also says that apart from the technical bid and this final commercial comprehensive offer, or these are the only 2 documents which will be called as my final bid, and all other correspondence in between will stand cancelled or null and void, so that you only have in future these 2 documents and your life becomes easier. Okay, so what is to be covered in that final techno-commercial offer? There is of course, that becomes a record, and it is given in the guide post on the website. Then comes the selection of preferred developer. Now you've got 3 people, 3 developers who have given you, who have gone through all the process of selection, shortlisting and selection, and they are there with you with this final techno-commercial offers are there with you. Now you are going to select one from the 3. Okay. Now, all of us, we know that the next step would be ideally that you set up a meeting with the registrar of property housing societies. Okay, call him over and for the process of 79A and select a developer. People have heard of these stories, you know, in video shooting and things like that. And then you select a developer. That's absolutely fine. But that meeting is extremely crucial. If you go to that meeting without a proper preparation, you know, people can be confused. Okay, so let's say you have 100 members in your society. Okay, now when you go for that meeting also has certain rules and regulations to be followed very strictly. Like, for example, it is to be called at 14 days notice. Okay, the clear notice. Then about 2/3, 67% of total members must be present. And then from the 67% people who are present, 51% of total, that is 100 ka 51%. So 67 members should be present, and at least 51 attending members must select one developer, the same developer. Now there are some rules. These are the stringent rules and regulations. So unless you prepare for this, it's possible that that meeting may not go well. And if it doesn't, if it becomes a fragmented meeting, then later on, okay, you may have to cancel that meeting for whatever reason, then postpone, and then it becomes really, really tricky. So it is better to prepare for that meeting. Like, SSC. Okay, before going for the SSC exam, we we take the prelim exam. We take a correct? Preliminary examination, which is beginning, which prepares us in mind, body, and spirit to, for that next meeting. So this is something like that here. So selection of a preferred developer. So what is done here is that this could be a general body meeting, or it could be just a meeting of all the members. Now, all the members, like say 100 members there are in your society. Maybe, of course, there's no minimum quorum for this meeting, because this is a kind of briefing meeting. Okay, so when people come, maybe you don't get 67 people here. You get only maybe 60. You still have the meeting, but you make it a point for all of you to understand that in the next meeting, 67 people must be present. Okay, and that message has to go not just to the people who are attending there, but to all other people. Not just that, then what you do here is that you present that final techno-commercial offer. Again, the PMC expresses his kind of his insights on that project. The managing committee also explains to the member, and together all these members, they sort of select a preferred developer. Preferred developer is a developer from the 3 bidders who is still not formally selected, but someone who now will be selected if all goes well in the final meeting. So this meeting is very, very crucial. This meeting sets down the foundation, a good foundation for the next meeting, which would happen later in front of a registrar. So this is a preparatory meeting, all right? So once a preferred developer is selected, some developers may ask, okay, fine. So then, right, now I'll just keep, okay, once the developer is selected, okay, now this is the point number 11, which is actually not having anything to do with the developer selection. But if you have selected a preferred developer, naturally, what it means is that आपका project तो आगे जा रहा है. Now you're sure, eventually, a developer will be selected, your project is moving ahead. And maybe 3 months from now, you will need a legal advisor to draft your development agreement, to draft your power of attorney, permanent alternate accommodation agreement, and some other writings, legal writings, etc. So since you'll be needing the services of a legal advisor, this is the time when you are all selecting that legal advisor. Now some of you might ask me the question, अरे अभी legal advisor appoint करते हैं क्या कि project के शुरू में करते हैं? The point is, if your project has any legal issues right from the beginning, such as you don't have a conveyance, all right, or you already have an earlier dispute, or your land is a leasehold land. Some such legal intricacies are already there on your plot from the beginning. Then you need to get a legal advisor on board right from the beginning. Otherwise, if you don't have any such issues, you can delay that appointment up to the time when you have selected a preferred developer, and then you can appoint a legal advisor. Otherwise, this step as such is not about selecting a developer. So then the next step would be, okay, now the tendering process has come to an end. And we'll be now moving to that important meeting of 79A, where you'll be actually selecting a developer formally. Okay. So what is required at this stage is that your PMC should prepare a tendering report, which is basically an account of, okay, a narration of what has happened since the tendering process started and how it went through all these steps and which reports were acquired, what information was required, what was the final offer, and who are the final developers and their offer. So this is a tendering report which becomes an important record. There's a guidepost which can tell you what could be the content of the tendering report. And of course, selection as per 79A again in HGBM. So this is another milestone, the last one in this webinar. So selection as per 79A. So what happens here is that, as I said, a 14 days notice is served to the members. Okay. Then 67% of the total members minimum should attend the meeting in person. Okay. Only one member or associate member or like that. Okay. So with a proper identity card and everything, nobody else is allowed. Okay. And this, when we say quorum, is basically a head count. It's basically, so far it has been a head count. So people have to be physically present. And this is a very crucial meeting, extremely crucial meeting. And I know societies where people have come, to attend this meeting, not just from within India, some like just say not just from Kerala or Delhi, but they have come from Gulf also, because it is such an important meeting. And the head count of 67% is so much important. Right. And then again, in this, the registrar will supervise the meeting, and the agenda is only one, basically, that to select a developer. Then the resolutions are passed. Which resolutions are passed? Okay. The entire proceeding of the meeting is video recorded, attendance is recorded, and yes. So that is how this meeting is conducted. And in this meeting, certain resolutions are passed, which are given. This M stands for, you see, in the bracket, M stands for milestone, R is the record of all these things, and GP is a guidepost, which if you see the guidepost, all these requirements are given there. Now, for some reason, if you do not get the quorum on that day, okay, then the meeting is adjourned and it is postponed to by 1 week. And again, the same rules will apply. And if you are still not able to get the quorum on that day, then you cannot have this meeting for the next 3 months. Those are the rules of 79. Then you can again do the kind of internal communication, prepare yourself. Okay. Maybe the prelim which you gave was not effective enough. You need to give another prelim and again come for that meeting. And this is the meeting where the developer is formally selected. Now, once the developer is selected, okay, after the developer is selected, within a week or so, you should get an NOC from the registrar's office giving reference to this meeting and saying that you can go ahead with this, with your redevelopment project with this selected developer. Now, let us see very quickly how does it look on our website. Right, now you are having a just a minute, I'm getting something very funny here. Okay, great. So you are here at the at the website. On left-hand side, you can see this one feasibility study, all the phases, feasibility study, tendering. This is where we are right now, tendering and developer selection. Correct? Okay. Now, before I go further to discuss this, okay, fine, we all okay. So let us go to tendering. I'm clicking on tendering and developer selection. Great. So we are here now on this page for tendering and developer selection. What you can see here on the first page is the tendering process which we covered last time. Then tender documents which we covered last time. Then there are notes about evaluation and selection process here, which you can see here. I am highlighting this. All right. Down below also there is one more note, bid evaluation report, how it should be. All right. So this is something which you can have a look at. Now, the real engine or backbone of this website is the roadmap. So I am on the roadmap, you can see here, and I am selecting the, I'm selecting the second option, which is the subject of today's webinar, bid evaluation and developer selection. Correct? Now, when I do that, what you see here is, you can see here, whatever we discussed in the webinar or in the presentation. Now you see them in form of steps, step-by-step procedure, 1, 2, 3, 4, going on up to 32. So there are 32 steps here. So actually, for the tendering part, you know, the first part of tendering, so tender floating, etc., there were 22 steps. And for this stage, there are 32. So you can think of as a tendering and developer selection phase, the second phase to be consisting of 54 small steps. So that is the beauty of how this has been put here, so that you are in a position to go through this step by step, follow this and do your project. What you see here in the bold letters are the milestones. Correct? This is second milestone. This is third milestone. Whatever we discussed little while ago, it's only here. But I just want to show here that just in case you want to make a reference, you can always flash your mobile, look for that website www.redevelopment.info. Go to this phase and stage, roll down the roadmap, and you get these steps. Okay. Now, in addition to these steps, we also discussed about what you can see here in the last, like for example, take step serial number 3. What you see in the last corner, I'll make it bigger. Yes, this is the last column. What you see here, that there are, this is M standing for milestone, R standing for record, and GB standing for guidepost. Now this, if you click here, you will get the, you will be taken to that guidepost or taken to the milestone or taken to the record. Okay, like it is there, like for example, this step, there's only one record. This step, there's only guidepost, milestone, guidepost. So as I explained, there are 4 milestones, 9 records and 9 guideposts pertaining to this stage, all this. Okay. Now where you get them, you can get them by clicking here. Okay. Or you can also get them by here, top. Records. You can say, okay, milestone, you want to see the milestones? Okay. So when I click on milestones is coming up. Yeah. These are the milestones. So there are 7, out of which the first 3 belong to the last stage, tendering. From 4, 5, 6, 7 belong to the developer selection. Okay. So this is about the milestone. Now let's see the records. Bid evaluation and developer selection. You can see this bid evaluation and developer selection. So if I have to show you the records for that, which records are created? Some records are created by PMC, some records are created by your financial legal experts, and some maybe some records are created even by your managing committee. So you can see here, this is the these are 9 records here. Okay. So which is the record created by whom? You can see a PMC, financial expert, legal expert, like that. The last record NOC is created by Deputy Registrar and notes about that. So these are the records. Now let's see which are the guideposts. Now guideposts belonging to this stage. It's loaded. Now you can see there are 9 guideposts here. The first guidepost is about comparative statement and bid evaluation analysis or rating report. You can see the points. These are indicative points. Of course, each point also will need further working, which your PMC will be doing. Second, third. So these are basically the guidelines which we have developed in our office, in which we are giving to you so that you can use them in your projects. Okay. So with that, now let me go back to my presentation. Teams, yesterday presentation, correct? So yes. So we have just seen that. I'll just go through this milestone and SGBM. This slide is only making a list of what I just showed to you, because what I showed you from a website. So this is just a list of the same things which are shown in the presentation. 4 milestones, then the records 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Then guideposts. Right. So we have covered the process of selection of a developer. Now the question, one point, we have covered the process. The point still remains. Developer को कैसे select करने का समझ में आ गया. But what are the criteria? The process we have understood. How? But who is going to be my developer? How do I select him? What should I look into that developer? So these are this slide which I am showing you. 2-3 slides I am thinking of putting on the group. So those of you see, there are a lot of things which happen on the group. As Uma mentioned, there are a lot of things. There is some material which is exchange, etc. Which if you are joining only from YouTube and not being part of the group, perhaps you will not have access to that. So better to be a part of the group. This particular slide, as well as the first 2 slides of selection, I'll be putting on the group for just a quick reference for those of you who want it. So now let me take you through the developer selection criteria. First one is the status of bidding firm. Now remember, it is bidding firm. In real estate, people talk of themselves as group. I'm just sort of Technoesis group or some kind of a Rose group, like that, whatever, what it means is that it's a group of people who have come together to do that business, but that's not a company. That's not a bidding firm. So you never should have, it's a certain group may submit a bid to you, but the question which you need to ask him is, भैया ये ग्रुप सब ठीक है, लेकिन इस ग्रुप में से कौन सी कंपनी में आप यहाँ बिड कर रहे हैं? In which company would you like to take this project? You tell us about that company. Group is used to create a brand and to maintain a brand. But a company is not a brand. Company is the one which will be doing your project. So you have to ask them which company will be doing that. That's very crucial. Otherwise, you will get enamored by the group and you will perhaps sign a contract with a shady company. Okay, so which is the bidding firm? And if it is a bidding firm, then every due diligence which is being done should be for that firm. Group के लिए भी ठीक है. Like, now, for example, I'll tell you. Maybe this will come later. Coming to the experience of a developer. उसमें ग्रुप का 4 कंपनी है. Suppose there are 4 companies in the group. I'm fine. All the experience of all the 4 companies perhaps can help, but not so much for the financial position, because every company is different, even if it's in the same group. So what is important is that that particular company which will be doing your project, your developer has to tell you which is that company and put up the bid in the name of that company, and should give us your financial credential, his financial credential for that company. So status of the bidding firm, all the net worth, solvency, income tax return, everything, all the documents should be pertaining to that firm. Now the firm could be a proprietary firm, or a partnership firm, or a private limited company, or a public limited company, or a listed public limited company, or it could be a joint venture. There are so many things. Or it could be a special purpose vehicle, whatever it is. Its credentials have to be understood, and it's necessarily supported by the parent company. You should not end up signing with a small company without getting up an assurance. If you are signing or if you are awarding the project to an SPV, which is a special purpose vehicle, okay, and if that SPV doesn't have much business in the present case, then there has to be some kind of assurance which has to come from the parent company. So all that, I think your people, your lawyers, and your financial advisors should be able to advise you or guide you from that. Then the second part is basically an experience. And if you ask me as a PMC, of course, it's important whether a developer is financially sound, whether he has got this experience, that experience, all that thing, whether he is financially sound, especially people talk about that, okay? But there is no better proof of the bidder's credentials than his completed projects or under construction projects. You know why? If he has completed, let's say, 5 projects, and 2 of the type which fall in your category, then what it means is that he already has an experience, and he had the money to complete them and sell them. So it's a proof. A completed project is a proof of the developers. I mean, when I say developer, the same bidding firm. It's a proof that he had that money. He could sell. He could get IOD. He could complete the project. He could stand the test of RERA. All these things. That's a living proof. So that actually should be extremely important. I have seen sometimes societies thinking, "Arey, iska net worth itna, ye sab." Of course, they are important, not that. But net worth karke, suppose he had so much money, suppose he is a high net worth company. It's a high net worth company. So money is there with them. But what is the guarantee that they would invest in your company? Okay. So having money is not a proof that they would invest in you. So a very sound. That is why in our entire analysis and due diligence, whatever we do, or evaluation in the rating system, etc., we give a lot of importance to the developer's experience. Experience meaning the projects, redevelopment projects, which has actually completed or under construction. Because if it is under construction, naturally it means he has been able to come to that stage, make that commitment. He has got registered in RERA. He has invested in approvals, and now he's doing the project. So these are actually the really important things and specific experience. For example, the other day, I think yesterday only, yes, I got a call from a public trust who have their own land of about an acre. It's a land owned by a public trust. Now they say that they went even for that Mumbai, redeveloping Mumbai, whatever, that conference and event which was there about two weeks ago. They went there. There were many developers. But when they asked that question, does any of you, have you ever developed a project which belonged to a public trust? The answer used to be invariably no. And they were asking me how to do this and all. So if so that trust is saying that fine, everything is okay. But for us, this is a crucial thing because this is something to be done right in the beginning, without which the project will not get started at all. Something similar to that is if your land is a collector land. Okay, so much of premium to be paid right in the beginning, and a certain process to be followed in the government's office. Does anyone have that experience? We are working with 2 collector projects, and this is the question which we are asked in for both the projects. So this is something very important. Otherwise, your developer, so specific experience is definitely more important. So this is second, this is say point number 2 is a very important criteria. Then whether your key requirements are accepted. A developer may, it should not happen that you are singing a different tune and your developer is singing a different tune. And there is no meeting ground. Okay. So I'll give you what I mean by key requirement. Like in my project only, one of my projects, we had very specifically said that we want to do a residential project. हमको shops नहीं चाहिए, commercial नहीं चाहिए. Well, that project was quite big, very big in fact, more than 4 acres, and there were 2 plots of the same society separated by a road in between. So our second key requirement was that although we have 2 separate plots and our existing members are staying in 2 different and in both the plots, after redevelopment, all of us members, they want to come and you have to relocate us in this particular plot, which is of our choice. This is again a key requirement. So any developer who doesn't accept these key requirements, there's no point in selecting it. So you have to, these are also the crucial thing. It's not only money, it's not only experience. He has to understand and accept those key requirements. There could be different requirements. I just give you a couple of, okay, maybe your key requirement would be just like this. No, we want a bank guarantee of 40 crores. It's non-negotiable. Key requirements are non-negotiable things, right? So this is the third criterion. Now fourth, you have given them a tender, okay, and you have specified that certain things have to be done in this particular manner. Okay. Okay, key requirement can also be like this. Okay, just let me give you an example. We already have a dispute with an earlier developer, and it is agreed between the earlier developer and the society that a sum of 10 crores have to be given to him from the redevelopment, the proceeds of the redevelopment, and that has to be done in advance. This is without which the project will not move forward. So do we agree to that? Now deviation meaning you have put up certain things in the tender document. Okay. Like for example, again we can say that the bank guarantee thing again, and developer says, I don't want to give it, means what? It's a deviation from the tender document. Or he may say that I am not willing to load the TDR in advance, in which case it's again a deviation. So deviation meaning some clause which are already put in the tender, but the developer is not agreeing to that. It may not be a key requirement. It may be some other requirement. Okay, but he is not agreeing to that. Now, when I talked about negotiation some time ago, I talked about ironing out these deviations. Okay, You understand? Okay, he wants to make the deviation. Maybe you can have you maybe both of you can come to a middle ground and settle that one. So what is that? So deviation. Maybe he puts some conditions put forth. Like, he may say, I want to, he may put his condition. For example, you may have said that uh, uh, let's say you want to do a project under 33(7)(b). But developer says, no, I want to put a condition, I want to do this project under 33(11). Okay. Or he may put some other condition from his side. Now, whatever these conditions have been put, or the deviations made, you have to discuss, iron them out, or come to a middle ground and take the project forward. And what would be the developer's approach? What would be his response? That would be very important to see. Financial capability, definitely, we talked about it. I'll not again spend time on this. Client feedback also I also talked about, but these are the selection criteria. Remember, so you select a developer from across all these criteria. And of course, commercial offer. I put it at number 7. Isn't it interesting? When everyone thinks कि बड़ा offer चाहिए, and the whole focus goes on number 7. What happens to serial number 1 to 6? I mean, it's not wonder that so many projects fail, right? So yes, commercial offer, definitely. But how does it, is that person or the right Mr. Is your developer Mr. Right to do all these things and finally honor the commercial offer? It should not be like this, I am not a very good cricketer or batsman. Okay. So if you hire me in India team, just because I tell you I'll score 200 in the first test or first whatever, or say maybe 2020, I'll do this score. I'm not a fit guy to do it. I may make some commitment, I may make some offer, I may say anything. But unless it has been evaluated properly, am I capable of doing that? Is that developer capable of delivering that commercial offer? अरे उसको तो प्रॉफिट हो रहा है कि नहीं वो भी तो देखो. कभी कभी ऐसा हो जाता है समझ में नहीं आता है कि उसने ऑफर कैसा लिया उधर उसका प्रॉफिट किधर है. And remember, it's not only profit. There has to be some cushion for addressing future kind of market deviation, market conditions, or something, some future uncertainties. And submission of required documents and information. So all these above things should be supported by documentary proof and proper information. Not वो आके बोल के गया सब वैसा बोला नहीं होता है. He may do it in good faith also. Sometimes I think the developers are not crooked people. It's not like that कि but क्या होता है ना, the thought of acquiring a particular project is so much overbearing. उनको उसमें वो प्रोजेक्ट इतना जरूरी होता है ना कि उनको लगता है मैं कर दूंगा, फिर मैं इसके साथ टाइप करूंगा उसके साथ टाइप करूंगा हो जाएगा. नहीं होता है. Okay, so we need to have a proper documentary proof. Keenness, approach, and flexibility. Now, this is a very simple kind of understanding. You see, 9th number pe rakha hai, but this is extremely important. The point is, when we do this selection process, we come across some developers who are financially sound. उनके पास experience भी है. Means they are competent to do the project, but they don't seem to be keen. मिला तो मिला. Means क्या interest होना चाहिए ना भैया. मतलब you should be kind of you should be invested mentally in the project. I want this project. I have seen developers like that also. ठीक है ऐसा है ये point है चलो we'll handle it, but we are interested. Now every developer will tell you that he's interested. Remember, no developer is going to show you नहीं है भैया हम तो interest है ना. Always. But that is not what you should look at. You have to infer whether he's really interested from his action, from his approach. Does it show like आप एक चीज मांगते हैं और उसको वो देने में 15 दिन लगाते हैं. अरे but हम interested है. You are not interested. You are showing it that way. Now the project, whether the developer is flexible to some extent, because you are handling a society, and society is what? It's not a corporate organization. No, society has internal issues, some issues, which could, some of them could be there presently, but they may not remain. So developers should also be in your shoes to understand and be a little flexible. Of course, I'm not saying that he should stick his neck out to somehow support you at his cost. Not so. But he should understand that you are a corporate society. He is a developer. Eventually, he has to do your project. Okay. So these are important things. And I have seen in many societies that these sometimes are very governing things. Developer is मुझे चाहिए project. So I'm doing मुझे चाहिए मतलब ऐसा भी नहीं ना किसी भी हालत में चाहिए I will give you any offer, not so. He has to obviously satisfy all other criteria. And then ninth is a very important point. We also call it sometimes responsiveness. You ask something, instant response, अच्छा हूँ क्या करूँ क्या अच्छा ऐसा इशू है क्या ठीक है आते मिलते बैठते देखते. That's called responsiveness. And there are some developers, आप उनके साथ बैलेंस शीट मांगो, बैलेंस शीट ठीक है हमारे डायरेक्टर अभी अब्रॉड गए, आने के बाद बैलेंस शीट में बैलेंस शीट भैया आपके बैलेंस शीट फॉर द पास्ट ईयर शुड बी सिटिंग ऑन योर desk. Where is the question of your director coming and giving the balance sheets? So this is something which is also important. And planning, there you see at the stage of selecting a developer, not always people ask for plans because plans will eventually get changed. बाद में plan change होगा, कुछ होगा, plans keep on changing. But there can be situations when plans are requested right in the beginning. Like in my cases, whenever, when I do projects in Vile Parle, because of the height restriction, a proper understanding is required before we select a developer right from the beginning. कि ये हाइट रिस्ट्रिक्शन किस तरह से हैंडल होने वाला है, किस टाइप का कार पार्क बैठने वाला है, बेसमेंट बनने वाला नहीं बनने वाला है, whether the top floor, whether the water supply will be with overhead water tank or whether it will be with hydropneumatic system. So much, whatever it has been, what or maybe yes. So sometimes plans, what is done, normally, that in such projects, after the final shortlist, we tell the developers, we give them about 3 weeks to make plans and make the presentation. Well, those plans can evolve later, but there also that keenness is seen. जो developer उसमें ज़्यादा अच्छे से दिमाग लगाता है and he wants to come up with a better plan. Although everyone knows that plan is going to change later. Everyone knows that. But then, बाद में change होने वाला है, आज मैं कुछ भी करूँ. That shows the approach, bad approach. Whereas there can be developer who knows I want this project so badly, I want it. So it's like, what we call as the fire in the belly. I want this project. So for which he will prepare good plans. He will perhaps go through 2 options, 3 options and try to give you the plan. So friends, this is the slide which you can, I'll be putting this on the group. So these are the criteria. Some are more important, some are less important, but all the same, all 10 are important to some extent. And this is what you should be following when you select your Mr. Right for your redevelopment project. I think I have come to the end of this session. Thank you for staying with me. And we will take questions.
Thank you, Mr. Dhargalkar. That was really very enlightening. Now, next webinar in this series is tentatively scheduled on 10th or 17th May. The exact date will be announced soon on the group. So with that, we will be starting phase 3, which is pre-construction. This phase consists of 4 stages and one by one, we will study them all. So please stay connected and start sending your questions about this topic. Videos of this session will be available on YouTube and links will be shared on our website and on the WhatsApp group as well. So please do not exit the group and keep visiting our YouTube channel regularly. And yes, do subscribe also. This webinar too, like all other previous webinars, has been approved by ECI, and professional engineers registered with ECI will get 2 credit hours for attending. So such candidates may drop us a mail and we will confirm their participation. With that, we are concluding this webinar. So before that, let me take this opportunity to thank each one of you on behalf of Dhargalkar Technoesis for attending the webinar, and also our Technoesis team for their dedication and support. Thank you all. Have a nice day.